Why these two people? Of all the billions of humans on this planet, why were you born to these specific parents? Why this mother? Why this father? Why this family, this home, this particular beginning? Was it random? Just biology? Two people met, and here you are? Or is there something deeper? Paramahansa Yogananda taught that nothing in the universe is accidental, especially not the family you were born into. He said your parents are not random. They are your karma. And until you understand what that means, you will carry invisible chains you don't even know you're wearing. Today, we will explore this teaching fully, not as philosophy, but as a key to your own freedom. By the end, you will see your parents differently, and more importantly, you will see yourself differently. Let's begin with what Yogananda actually meant by karma. Most people misunderstand karma. They think it means punishment. You did something bad, so now you suffer. An eye for an eye across lifetimes. But this is not what the ancient teachings say, and it is not what Yogananda taught. Karma simply means action. Every action creates a result. Every cause has an effect. This is not punishment. This is physics. This is law. When you drop a stone, it falls. When you plant a seed, it grows. When you act, consequences follow. Not because someone is judging you, but because that is how energy works. Karma is also memory. Every experience leaves an impression on your soul. These impressions accumulate across lifetimes. They shape your tendencies, your fears, your desires, your patterns. They draw you towards certain situations and certain people, including your parents. Yogananda explained that before you were born, your soul was not empty. It carried the weight of countless lives, lessons learned, lessons failed, loves found and lost, wounds given and received. This accumulated karma needed specific conditions to unfold, specific lessons to complete, specific debts to repay, specific gifts to receive. And so, the soul chose, not randomly, precisely. It chose parents who could provide exactly the conditions needed for its next stage of growth. This is difficult to accept, especially if your childhood was painful. Your mind says, I would never choose this. I would never choose abuse. I would never choose neglect. I would never choose coldness. But Yogananda asks you to consider a larger perspective. The soul is not looking for comfort. It is looking for evolution. Sometimes the most powerful growth comes from the most difficult soil. A soul that needs to develop strength might choose weak parents. A soul that needs to learn self-love might choose parents who couldn't give love. A soul that needs to break a pattern of victimhood might choose circumstances that force it to fight. This is not blame. You are not at fault for your childhood. Your parents are still responsible for their actions. But on a soul level, there is a contract, an agreement made before memory, a curriculum chosen before birth. Yogananda taught that there are different types of karmic relationships with parents. Understanding which type you have can bring tremendous clarity. The first type is supportive karma. Some souls choose parents who will nurture them, protect them, encourage them. These are not random blessings. They are earned. Somewhere in the past, these souls supported others. Now they receive support. If you had loving parents, this is not luck. It is the fruit of your own past actions. The proper response is not pride, but gratitude. And the responsibility is to pass that love forward, to become a source of support for others. The second type is challenging karma. Some souls choose parents who will oppose them, criticize them, wound them, not because the universe is cruel, but because these souls need resistance to grow. Think of it this way. A muscle grows only when it meets resistance. A diamond forms only under pressure. Some souls need difficult parents to develop qualities they could not develop in comfort: independence, resilience, inner strength, self-validation, the ability to find love within when it is not given from without. If you had difficult parents, you were not cursed. You enrolled in an advanced course. The tuition is pain, but the degree is power. The third type is repayment karma. Sometimes the relationship with parents is about settling old accounts. In a past life, you might have been the parent. They might have been your child. Roles reverse, debts balance. A parent who neglects you now might be a soul you neglected before. A parent who controls you might be someone you once controlled. The situation feels unfair only because you don't remember the other side of the story. This is not about guilt. It is about understanding that the universe keeps perfect records. What goes out comes back. The form changes, but the energy balances. The fourth type is healing karma. Some souls choose parents specifically to heal an ancestral wound, a pattern that has run through the family for generations. Addiction, abuse, silence, fear. The soul enters knowing it will experience this pattern, but it also carries the potential to break it, to be the one who finally says, "This ends with me." If you look at your family and see a cycle of pain repeating through generations, consider that you may have incarnated precisely to interrupt it, not just for yourself, for everyone who came before and everyone who will come after. This is sacred work. It is not easy, but it is profoundly meaningful. Now, knowing these types, you might ask, what do I do with this information? How does understanding karma change anything? Yogananda's answer was clear. Awareness is the first step to freedom. When you see your parents as karmic partners rather than random accidents, something shifts. The victim story begins to weaken. The question changes from, "Why did this happen to me?" to "What is this teaching me?" But awareness alone is not enough. There is work to do. The first work is releasing resentment. Resentment toward parents is one of the heaviest chains a soul can carry, and one of the most common. Almost everyone has some grievance with their mother or father. Something that was said, something that wasn't said, something that was done, something that was missing. Yogananda taught that this resentment does not punish your parents, it punishes you. It is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. The parent may not even know you are angry, or they may be long dead, but you carry the weight every day. It colors your relationships. It shapes your self-image. It burns energy that could be used for creation, for joy, for life. Releasing resentment is not saying what happened was acceptable. It is not excusing bad behavior. It is simply deciding that you will no longer carry the burden. This is not easy. It is not quick, but it is possible. The second work is finding the gift. Every difficult experience contains a hidden gift. This sounds like spiritual cliché until you actually look. What did your parents' failures force you to develop? What strength came from their weakness? What did you learn about yourself that you could not have learned any other way? Maybe their criticism made you seek validation within. Maybe their absence made you fiercely independent. Maybe their chaos made you crave peace, and that craving led you to spirituality. The gift is always there, sometimes buried deep. But when you find it, the entire story transforms. You stop being a victim of your childhood and start being a graduate of it. The third work is completing the contract. Yogananda taught that karmic relationships end when the lesson is learned, not before. You can try to run from your parents, cut them off, pretend they don't exist, but the karma follows you. It appears in other relationships, in patterns, in triggers. The only way out is through. Completing the contract means learning what you came to learn, forgiving what needs to be forgiven, becoming who the experience was designed to make you. When the lesson is complete, the charge disappears. You can think of your parents without pain. You can see them as souls on their own journey, doing their best with their own karma, their own wounds, their own limitations. This is freedom. Not freedom from your parents, freedom from your own reaction to them. Here is a practice Yogananda recommended for healing parental karma. Do this in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes. Take several slow, deep breaths until your mind settles. Now visualize your mother. See her face clearly, not as your mother, but as a soul, a being who existed before she was your mother and will exist after. A being with her own karma, her own struggles, her own lessons. Silently say, "I see you as a soul. I release any debt between us. I thank you for what you taught me." even through pain. I forgive you for what you could not give. I set us both free. Feel whatever arises. Grief, anger, love, relief. Let it move through you without resistance. When complete, let her image fade. Now visualize your father. The same process. See him as a soul, not just a parent. Someone with his own journey, his own wounds, his own karma that led him to be exactly who he was. Silently say, I see you as a soul. I release any debt between us. I thank you for what you taught me, even through pain. I forgive you for what you could not give. I set us both free. Again, let the feelings move through you. When complete, take 3 deep breaths. Open your eyes slowly. This practice is not one time. You may need to repeat it many times before the charge fully releases. Old karma has deep roots, but each time, the grip loosens. Yogananda left a final teaching on this subject. He said that ultimately, you have only one parent, the infinite, the divine, God. Your earthly parents were costumes worn by souls to play a role in your story. The role was necessary, but it was never the whole truth. Behind your mother's face is the face of the Divine Mother. Behind your father's face is the face of the Divine Father. When you look deeply enough, you see that you were never abandoned, never unloved, never alone. The human parents may have failed. The Divine Parent never does. When you can hold both truths at once, the human imperfection and the divine perfection, something heals at the deepest level. You stop demanding from your earthly parents what only the infinite can give. You stop blaming them for not being God, and in that release, you become free. Your parents are your karma, but karma is not a prison. It is a classroom, and you hold the power to graduate. If this teaching resonated with you, subscribe and turn on notifications. More of Yogananda's wisdom on karma, relationships, and spiritual growth is coming. Share this video with someone who struggles with their parents. Sometimes, understanding arrives at the exact moment it's needed. And leave a comment. What did your parents teach you, even through difficulty? Naming it is part of the healing. See you in the next one.